Okay, so today we are diving into a story of high society drama, family betrayal, and some truly spectacular revenge. And it all goes down at this lavish wedding at the Plaza Hotel. But listen, this isn't just some family argument. This is about what happens when the one person everyone takes for granted finally decides to close the bank for good. These are the words that kick the whole thing off, shouted by the groom, Dante, in front of 200 guests. See, he thought he was just putting some lonely relative in her place. He had absolutely no idea he was actually canceling his own wedding.
So who was he yelling at? Well, let's meet Audrey. She's 33, a super successful venture capitalist. To the rest of the world, she's an absolute powerhouse. But to her family? Yeah, she plays a very different role. To them, she's the invisible wallet, the silent provider for a family that honestly seems to kind of despise her.
This slide just lays out the toxic dynamic perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got Audrey, who was raised to be the quiet, generous one. And on the other, her sister Brittany, who was raised to be, well, loud and expensive. Audrey paid for everything, the out-of-season peonies, the fancy venue, even the $12,000 Vera Wang gown her sister's wearing. And her reward for all this? Just constant disrespect. You know, as a venture capitalist, she knew a bad investment when she saw one, but somehow she missed the one sitting right there in her own family. And that brings us to the moment of truth, just hours before the ceremony is supposed to start. After funding this entire fairy tale wedding, Audrey finds herself face to face with the groom, Dante. And let's just say, he is not a happy camper.
Can you even imagine this? Audrey was simply adjusting a floral arrangement, an arrangement that she paid for, by the way, when Dante comes up to her. He calls her a bitter old spinster and a dark cloud. And when she doesn't back down, he literally slaps her hand away and tells her to get out of the wedding. Her wedding that she's bankrolling.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the betrayal. Her family saw the whole thing happen. Her father, whose gambling debts she'd secretly paid off, suddenly finds the ceiling architecture just fascinating. Her mother tells her to stop being dramatic. And her sister, the bride, she just stands there and smirks, completely unbothered.
And then came the line that just changed everything. Her sister, Brittany, yells this across the room. "We need the check for the band anyway." In that one moment, it all became crystal clear for Audrey. She wasn't a sister, she wasn't a daughter, she was just a walking ATM. The investment had officially hit rock bottom.
So what does she do? With a strange, cold clarity, Audrey just turns around and walks right out of the Plaza Hotel. She doesn't cry, she doesn't scream, she pulls out her phone and starts to systematically dismantle the entire event. The Bank of Audrey was officially going offline.
Her approach was just clinical. First, a call to the wedding planner to invoke the immediate cancellation clause in the contract. Check. Then, she opens her banking app and freezes the American Express Platinum card that was funding the whole shebang. It was swift, it was surgical, and it was absolutely devastating.
Now, invoking that cancellation clause with the wedding pretty much already happening meant one thing. The rest of the balance was due immediately. We're talking about a massive $150,000 bill. And with her card frozen, the venue suddenly had no valid payment method.
And look how fast this all collapsed. It's breathtaking, really. Within 10 minutes of Audrey walking out that door, the string quartet stops playing mid-song, the champagne bar gets shuttered, and the giant crystal chandeliers go dark, replaced by harsh emergency lighting. The dream wedding had just turned into a financial nightmare.
So you can just imagine the chaos inside the ballroom. Dante's up on stage, about to give a toast, when his microphone just cuts out. Then the hotel manager appears, announcing that all services are suspended because of a stop payment order from the primary cardholder. A Miss Audrey hit.
And the public humiliation was just immediate and brutal. Dante, trying to save face, whips out his own card to cover the $150 grand. Declined. Insufficient funds. Turns out his limit was only $5,000. So then the father, Richard, steps up with his fancy MX Gold, and it's also declined.
So why was his card declined? Well, as this slide explains, it's because it was just a supplementary card on Audrey's account. He had no financial power of his own. That card he used for his golf games and steak dinners, it was just a piece of plastic backed by her money. When she locked her account, she locked his too.
But Audrey wasn't done. Oh no. As the family is being herded out of the venue, she confronts them from her car. She slides an envelope to Dante, revealing a shocking truth she'd uncovered.
He had an $80,000 gambling debt and was planning to use the wedding gifts to pay off a loan shark. He wasn't marrying for love, he was marrying for a bailout.
And the revenge didn't even stop there. The G-Wagon Dante tried to get into, it was Audrey's. He couldn't open it. The Lexus the family tried to drive home in, it was a corporate lease in her name, which she remotely disabled. Their multi-million-dollar lake house, she owned that too, and the security codes were already changed. They were literally locked out of their own lives, because their lives were never really theirs to begin with.
So the final act of this drama really shows these starkly different paths these two groups took after all the dust settled. For the family, it was a fast and brutal fall from grace, but for Audrey, it was the beginning of a whole new, unburdened life.
I mean, look at this. 6 months later, the contrast is just staggering. The family is living in a 4th-floor walk-up in the Bronx. Dante is gone, vanished. And Brittany, she's working as a waitress, learning the hard way what it means to actually earn a living. Meanwhile, Audrey is in Tulum, launching her new luxury resort and starting a relationship with her lead architect, a true equal.
When Audrey finally did the math, the total cost of her freedom, factoring in lost deposits and legal fees and all that, it came to about $150,000. A lot of money, for sure. But to escape a lifetime of being treated like a human checkbook, in her own words, honestly, it was a bargain.
And that really just leaves us with this final thought. This story isn't just about money or revenge, it's about finally recognizing your own value, especially when the people who are supposed to love you most won't. It kind of forces you to ask, what is the true price of self-respect, and when is it a price worth paying?